They didn't expect you to forgive them. Maybe they thought you'd fall apart, that the betrayal would shatter you beyond repair. The moment they crossed that line, they assumed they had won, that they had taken something from you that you could never get back. And for a while, it felt like they were right. The pain of betrayal cuts deep. It's not just the act itself, but the ripple effect that follows. The questions, the doubt, the sleepless nights. How could they? Why me? You replayed it over and over in your mind, searching for answers that never came. The trust you once gave so freely became a weapon turned against you. It wasn't just what they did. It was the realization that someone you cared for could hurt you so deeply. The bond you thought was unbreakable, it shattered like glass, leaving pieces that cut you every time you tried to pick them up. But even in that darkness, something inside you refused to let go. You knew you couldn't carry the weight of that betrayal forever. The anger, the bitterness, the resentment, it would only chain you to the very person who hurt you. And you couldn't let that happen. So you made a choice. You forgave, not for them, but for you. It wasn't about forgetting or pretending it never happened. It was about freeing yourself from the prison of that pain. They thought forgiveness meant they won. They thought it made you weak. But forgiveness wasn't surrender. It was your greatest act of strength. Forgiveness is misunderstood. To many it sounds like giving in, like saying, "It's okay," when it clearly isn't. They assume it's about letting the other person back in, about rebuilding what was broken. But you knew better. Forgiveness wasn't about them. It was about taking back your power. It was about refusing to let their betrayal define you. Carrying resentment would have meant they still owned a piece of you, a piece of your heart, your mind, your peace. And they didn't deserve that. So you let it go. Not because they earned it, but because you refused to carry the weight of their actions any longer. You forgave, but you never forgot. Forgetting would have been a disservice to yourself, a way of ignoring the lesson you learned through the pain. The scar they left became a reminder. You are strong enough to survive what was meant to break you. People didn't understand. Some said, "How can you forgive them?" Others asked, "Why don't you get revenge?" They didn't see what you saw. Revenge would have kept you tied to the betrayal. Holding on to the pain would have only hurt you more. Forgiveness gave you something they could never take. Freedom. It wasn't easy. Some days the anger still whispered to you. Some nights the memories came back, sharp and cruel. But each time you reminded yourself, you are not their betrayal. You are not their mistake. You are the person who survived it. Forgiving didn't mean you let them back in. You didn't rebuild the bridge they burned. Instead, you built something new, something stronger. You built boundaries. You learned to trust yourself again, to protect your heart without closing it off to the world. And with each passing day, you grew stronger. The betrayal that once threatened to break you became the fire that forged you. You weren't bitter. You weren't broken. You were free. And that freedom, it was worth everything. Pain is a cruel teacher, but it leaves lessons you can't ignore. At first, all you could see was the hurt, the betrayal that felt like a stain on everything you believe. You asked yourself why it happened, what you could have done differently. and how someone you trusted could turn against you. The truth was harsh. You couldn't control them. Their betrayal wasn't about your worth. It was about their character. People betray not because of who you are, but because of who they are. That was the first lesson. You learned that love, loyalty, and trust aren't weaknesses. They're gifts. When someone betrays those gifts, they reveal more about themselves than about you. They show their inability to value what was precious. The second lesson was harder. Boundaries matter. You realized that forgiving didn't mean allowing them back into your life. Forgiveness was about healing yourself, but forgetting? That was something you refused to do. Forgetting meant you hadn't learned. Forgetting meant leaving yourself open to the same hurt again. But you had grown. You had become someone who could say, "I forgive you, but I will never give you the chance to hurt me again." They never expected that. They thought your forgiveness would mean access, a clean slate, an invitation to return to the same version of you they once knew. But you weren't the same person anymore. You had boundaries now, clear, unshakable lines that no one would cross again. Through the pain, you discovered your strength. You realized that sometimes people come into your life to teach you a lesson, not to stay. Their betrayal wasn't the end of your story. It was the turning point. You took what they meant for harm and turned it into growth. The scar they left wasn't something to hide. It was something to honor. Because without their betrayal, you might never have seen your own power. There's something powerful about realizing that no one, not even the people who hurt you, can control your future. When they betrayed you, they thought they took something from you. Maybe it was your trust, your peace, your sense of safety. They assumed they had the power to break you, but they underestimated you. When you forgave them, you took that power back. You refused to let their actions dictate your life. You refused to let the pain consume you or turn you into someone bitter and untrusting. That's where most people get stuck, in the bitterness. They hold on to their anger because it feels like justice. But anger is a trap. It's like carrying poison and hoping it will hurt the other person. In the end, it only hurts you. You chose a different path. You let go, not of the lesson, but of the pain. You gave yourself permission to move forward, to heal, to rebuild. You refused to let their actions control your happiness. And slowly, you felt it. The return of your power. You began to trust yourself again. You learned to listen to your instincts, to protect your energy, and to value yourself in a way you never had before. You realized that forgiveness didn't make you weak. It made you untouchable. Because what can they do to someone who refuses to carry the weight of their betrayal? They can't hurt you anymore. They can't take anything from you. And while they may still live with the consequences of their actions, you are free. Free to love again. Not because you're naive, but because you're strong enough to know that someone else's betrayal doesn't define everyone. Free to pursue your dreams, to live fully, without carrying the bitterness they tried to leave with you. They say scars make you stronger, and it's true. The scar they left on your heart didn't make you weaker, it made you wiser. It's a mark of survival, of resilience, of someone who walked through fire and came out forged, not burned. They may still wonder how you moved on so effortlessly. They may tell themselves it didn't matter, that you were overreacting. But deep down, they know. They lost someone they'll never find again. And you gained yourself. Their betrayal no longer holds you. You reclaimed your power, and that is a victory they can never take away. After the betrayal, you stopped explaining yourself. You stopped justifying your decisions or trying to make others understand why you chose to forgive, but never forget. People questioned you, whispered behind your back, and even judged you for being too kind or too strong for your own good. But you didn't care, because their opinions no longer mattered. You had outgrown the need for their approval. The silence that followed your forgiveness said more than words ever could. You didn't scream your pain, you didn't plot revenge, and you didn't let bitterness consume you. You simply walked away, and that silence, it was deafening. It haunted those who underestimated you. They expected anger, they expected a fight. But what they didn't expect was for you to outgrow them completely, to choose peace over conflict, clarity over chaos. Their betrayal became a weight they would carry alone, because you refused to let it anchor you to the past. People like them thrive on control. They manipulate, deceive, and hurt others because they believe it gives them power. But when you forgave, you took that power away. You left them with nothing to hold over you, nothing to use against you. And in their silence, they began to understand what they had lost. Your peace was something they couldn't touch. Your growth was something they couldn't stop. While they were still chained to their actions, replaying their mistakes, you were free. The silence wasn't weakness, it was power. Because you knew that the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's rising above. It's living well, thriving, and becoming someone they can't reach. Their betrayal was loud, but your silence was louder. When you look back now, you see it clearly. Their betrayal was a gift in disguise. It taught you lessons you would have never learned otherwise. It showed you the value of boundaries, the importance of trusting yourself, and the power of letting go. It forced you to grow. You stopped looking for closure in their words or actions. You realized that the only closure you needed was the one you gave yourself. Forgiveness wasn't for them. It was for you, a way to free yourself from the chains of resentment and pain. And while they were stuck in the past, trapped by the weight of what they'd done, you were building your future. You took the hurt they caused and turned it into strength. You turned their betrayal into the foundation for something greater. Your growth became undeniable. The version of yourself that once accepted less, that once questioned your worth, no longer existed. You had outgrown the space they tried to put you in, and now you were standing taller than ever. People who betray others often think they've won, that they've taken something they can never give back. But what they don't realize is this: every betrayal is a chance to rebuild. Every wound becomes an opportunity to grow. And now, the life you're living, one full of purpose, freedom, and peace, is the greatest response of all. You didn't let their betrayal destroy you. You let it remake you. And while they are left wondering how you did it, you smile because you know. Their betrayal didn't break you. It built you. Now, as you stand at this new point in your life, you see it clearly. Their betrayal was never about you. It was about their weakness, their inability to value what was real, and their failure to see your worth. But you rose from it. They may have expected you to stay angry, to let the pain consume you, but you chose something far greater. You chose to let go. You forgave them, not because they deserved it, but because you refused to let their actions have power over you anymore. You never forgot. The scar they left is still there, but it no longer hurts. It serves as a reminder. You are stronger than the betrayal, stronger than the pain, and stronger than the person they tried to break. While they remain trapped in the consequences of their actions, you have grown beyond them. You built a life filled with peace, purpose, and resilience. One they can't touch, one they can't destroy. In the end, forgiveness wasn't for them. It was for you. And as you move forward, thriving in the life you created, you smile, knowing one simple truth. Their betrayal was their failure. Your forgiveness was your victory.